Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar From Science to Startup, how researchers are shaping the future of bioinformatics. My name is Jana Pradanova from the Macedonian Academy of Sciences and Arts, and I'll be your moderator for this session, organized under the umbrella of the Euraccess Startup Hub project developed in Macedonia. At this event, we want to show the real stories of scientists, like many of you here, who've taken their research beyond the lab and into the world of entrepreneurship. I will start with sharing the agenda so you could see how we have planned this webinar. Okay, so after this brief welcoming presentation, we will start with the speakers who we have planned for today. Those are our speakers from our own region, but have made an international mark, showing how innovation in bioinformatics and data science can grow from academic idea into a real world solution. So we have with us Professor Milan Zdravkovic from University of Niš, Dr. Nevenka Dimitrova from biomedical data science executive and founder from Seed of Life, Dr. Vesna Prchkovska, co-founder and CEO of Qmenta, and Professor Radmil Polanakovic from the St. Cyril and Methodius University from Skopje. After these presentations, we will have time for discussion and for your questions. In the meantime, of course, feel free to pose your questions in the chat during the whole webinar, but we will address them at the end. Okay, so I will just stop sharing here. Before we move into these stories, we are very pleased to begin with a short presentation about the Euraccess Start Hub, who has supported this webinar. It is a European initiative that supports researchers in their entrepreneurial journey. It is part of the Euraccess network. To listen a little bit more about the objectives of this Euraccess Start Hub, it's my pleasure to introduce Professor Milan Zdravkovic from the University of Niš in Serbia. He will present the goals and support mechanisms of the Euraccess Startup Hub and how it can empower early career researchers to explore entrepreneurship. But before he starts, I would like to say a few words about him. Milan is a researcher, AI activist, educator, jazz enthusiast, and recreational piano player, ski maniac, left liberation, each in its own time. Working at the Faculty of Mechanical Engineering at the University of Niš, he has authored more than 100 papers in the fields of applied artificial intelligence, semantic interoperability, enterprise information systems, and Internet of Things. His current interest is the design of industrial control devices driven by machine learning algorithms and Internet of Things infrastructures. Lead of top-rated national project in district heating system automation driven by explainable AI. He is also a member of the International Federation of Automatic Control, the International Federation of Information Processing, and SokolNet, among others. Milan has also served as editor and reviewer for top scientific journals and as chair and member of program committees of the well-respected conferences in the domain. Experience in consulting for and mentoring specific startups, he's excited about building new career opportunities for his students and PhD candidates through Euraccess Startup Hubs network he coordinates. Milan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jana, for your kind introduction. Before maybe going into the specific of Euraccess Startup Hub, I would like to tell you a little bit, a little story about one specific research career. It's about a guy who completed his PhD thesis at the University of Toronto 2013. Yeah, with he worked with Alex Krzyzewski and Geoffrey Hinton on something called AlexNet. At the time, this was innovative, one of the kind architecture for image classification in computer vision, and it is used even today in most of the computer vision algorithms and tools and approaches. After this PhD was completed, he continued with the Hinton's startup, but with a spin-off company which was established by Geoffrey Hinton at the time, and this spin-off company was acquired only after 3 months after its foundation. It was acquired by Google. So this guy worked in Google on something called TensorFlow and other sequence-to-sequence prediction algorithms, which are basically foundational models for something that later became transformers architecture-based, which was used in all those LLM models today. And actually. After that, in 2015, he opted out and created one small, at the time, NGO called OpenAI. The guy name is Ilya Sutskever, and at the time he was chief scientist of OpenAI, and you know the rest of the story. What you see at your screen is something that was created by this company, which became a giant in artificial intelligence today. This is one kind of a typical research career. Of course, it's very unique, but still you can draw some conclusions by looking at this one, but also many others. In fact, startups are more likely to succeed if they have researchers on board. Scientific entrepreneurship is something that kind of reduces the path from some innovative product to the large investment or whatever you can consider as a success in the startup world. You can see several facts here put. Those little facts are evidence-based. Companies with PhDs are significantly more attractive to corporate venture capital. Only a fifth of US unicorns has PhDs among funders. The fact is that the way how startups are today developed, especially if you take into account this like dominating philosophy for startup life cycles called lean startup, is something very close to scientific methodology, something very close to scientific process, because it defines the hypothesis, like you do in scientific process. In the startup development world, you can call them like a value or growth hypothesis, and then you do experiments with the customers to investigate the value that hypotheses bring, or to make iterative adjustments into your product or service. I mean, this is another thing why scientists are so successful in the startup world, because this methodology very closely resembles methodology how they do to develop actually scientific product. Bringing back to the table what you announced, Jana, there is like a large initiative in Europe dealing with researchers' career development. It is comprised of more than 600 organizations, and those 600 organizations are obviously research performing organizations, so either universities of research institutes, and this network is committed to supporting the researchers in their career development. There are several aspects of career development. One niche aspect that was introduced recently was the aspect of scientific entrepreneurship as a researcher career path. Within this Euraccess network, we created like a sub-network of organizations who are interested to participate in providing specific support programs to researchers who would like to become aspiring scientific entrepreneurs. And this network is they call Euraccess Startup Hubs. This is, like I said, sub-network. So not all of those organizations participate in the Euraccess initiative are part of them, but we use this really vast network of RPO organizations to gain access into very specific and excellent expertise, experience, and knowledge, which is in all over the Europe. But also, basically, the network, our network is using also capacity of the external stakeholders, external to the network, like business incubators, scientific technology parks, and the others. What we do is to build, to design, and provide local and international support programs for aspiring scientific entrepreneurs. So we do not support experienced scientific entrepreneurs because we are focused on promoting the entrepreneurship as a career path for researchers. So you can see here, if you want, you can access our main page here. It is stored on our national Euraxis portal, because Serbian local network of Euraxis was founder of this initiative, and it was founded in 2022 with one specific project where 7 organizations participate. Today, this sub-network grew to 12 Euraxis BHO organizations, like coordinators of the local network, and our activities are quite different, but you can see like 5 axes where we can bring some contribution, where we all work jointly. One of those activities is Euraxis Startup Tour. I will be telling you about it shortly. Then there is Startup Hub's Entrepreneur Leadership Academy, which is basically a series of webinars targeting aspiring scientific entrepreneurs. And this webinar is part of this series, but part of this academy. Then we do some training for Euraxis members. By doing so, we would like to expand it, to enlarge this network by recruiting the other Euraxis members to join our sub-network. There is a large digital toolkit with many online resources, tools, and content related to scientific entrepreneurship. And finally, there are some local activities that each of our members are doing within their local ecosystems. You can find about all those activities, about those programs, by accessing the central page of the Euraxis Startup Hub and behind this QR code. I would just like to end by shortly telling you about the Euraxis Startup Hub tour, because it's something that's actual, that is ongoing now, and something that even you can participate at this moment. We started that in 2022 with visits to 3 ecosystems like Estonian, Luxembourgian, and Israeli ecosystem in 2022. Now we want to do it again. Unfortunately, we cannot, due to known circumstances, do it in Israel, but instead we recruited a new host, Area Science Park from Trieste, from Italy, who will be hosting our Startup Hub Tour alumni in November 2025. So those start visits are practically 2 to 3 days program, very content-rich, extensive programs of like different lectures, testimonials for top researchers and innovators, presentations of the local ecosystems, presentation of local support infrastructure, and also some engaging exercises and hands-on session in collaboration with the experts from those ecosystems. What I can tell you now is that all of you can apply for this. So we are offering some 10 to 15 travel grants for each of those site study visits. And you can apply by following, you will find the link at the page, at the central page for Euraxis Startup Hub, but I will also at the end provide the link to our LinkedIn network page, where you can find all this information. You can apply for that. Currently, the application for Estonia is closed because it's it's very close to the visit is very close to today. So this study visit is already being prepared, but there is still call open for a visit to Luxembourg and Italy. Actually, Area Science Park and University of Luxembourg, who are local organizers of those visits. As I can tell you, the thing that we do in 2022 was very impactful. We had quite a lot of applications for participation. Even close to half of participants were female, and we received very, very positive feedback. Even we had several cases where some of the participants directly engaged in conversation with the potential founders for their research ideas on the startup. Of course, in Israel, where else? Yeah, and that's all about it. You can ask questions about this in the chat. I will be happy to answer them. And please make sure to follow this page in order to stay informed about all the upcoming activities. On our LinkedIn channel, you can also find the link to the application form for the Startup Visitor. Thanks. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Milan. Thank you for setting the stage and reminding us that there are still opportunities that are investing in researchers like you and many others here at the webinar. And not just in science, but like in entrepreneurial ideas also. Okay, so now next we will welcome Dr. Nevenka Dimitrova. Nevenka is an executive specializing in biomedical data science and technology with a robust track record in innovation and strategy. She holds a PhD in computer science and has an extensive portfolio of over 140 publications and 80 patents spanning healthcare, life sciences, and technology. Her career at Philips and GlaxoSmithKline includes leadership roles where she has driven advancement in data science, diagnostics, and biopharmaceutical technologies aimed at enhancing human health through digital transformation. Nevenka led the development of a pioneering research and development program and went on to establish a new oncology informatics business within Philips. At Viome, a biotech company, she played a key role in advancing a novel diagnostic platform for oral cancer. Deeply passionate about the science of nutrition, she also founded and currently serves on the board of Seed of Life, an innovative company focused on next-generation nutritional solutions in Macedonia. Additionally, Nevenka contributes her expertise to the Institute for Artificial Intelligence in Serbia, Macedonia 2025, University of Split in Croatia, and the Global EcoGrid Artificial Intelligence Initiative, supporting these institutions in becoming centers of excellence in AI research and technology transfer. Nevenka, it's our pleasure having you. Whenever you are ready.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you, Milan, and everyone. And I'm very thrilled about this initiative. Since I heard Euraccess, I think it's an amazing initiative, and I hope that this particular webinar inspires many more activities. And I hope one day we will be celebrating a unicorn in this area from Macedonia. I have to keep hoping. Okay, so let me share my screen and talk about turning data into impact. So again, thank you again for inviting me. I received a set of questions that I thought about, and then I will try to touch upon all of them through the presentation, but not necessarily like Q&A. And I'm open to any questions or follow-up emails from participants. I'm on LinkedIn, so please reach out to me. One is, what are the trends that I see that are shaping the future? To tell you a little bit about my journey doing academic research. How working in AI can help young researchers to create globally relevant startups. How scientists can think about what is commercializable, as well as how to start a bioinformatics company today in the Balkans. And I'll talk at the end a little bit about Seed of Life and what does it mean, how to reflect on the broader vision and context. But through that, I want to talk about the mindset and all of the skills that would be essential for a startup to become successful. I'll start with my journey. I'm now at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center and leading a computational oncology initiative in computer vision, which is applied to the field of biomedical data, which is the new type of imaging data that is 100x more precise and more visual, has much higher resolution. It's called multiplex immunofluorescence, combined with single cell sequencing, and so on. So I will hopefully talk about this in some other webinar in more detail. And my role at GlaxoSmithKline was to lead a team of data engineers and data scientists and have impact on R&D in pharma. So from early drug development through preclinical to clinical informatics and clinical trials, how to improve through data and data science and AI, how to improve every single aspect of big pharma. The R&D was 12,000 people, and my team was reaching out and collaborating with many of the groups within that big team. At Philips, I was a chief technology officer, but for oncology informatics, and it started with a simple conversation in a conference room somewhere in the middle of 2006, 2007. And then I grew a project which was 5 people, and then an bioinformatics and computational biology area, which was 20 people, and that became a product line. And when I exited Philips in 2020, we had more than 200 people working on the oncology informatics product. And I've had many different university appointments and collaborations, and I was one of the angel investors for Seed of Life, and I'm glad that the managing director for Seed of Life, Sofia Shutova, is also on this call. And I also serve on the advisory boards. But the whole point in showing this is to say that the road, sometimes you think the road is straight, but the road is sometimes not so straight, and you have to have a view of where you're going. So even when I had a very small project at Philips, I managed to show results so that we could go all the way up the ladder to the CEO and present a business plan after a while. So I consider that as an entrepreneurial type of activity, what I did at Philips. The funding came internally from the company, but we did all the steps as if we had a startup in the real world. And it became a founding platform for clinical informatics business, which is about $3 billion for Philips. One of the questions was to talk about the trends that I see that are shaping the future of bioinformatics entrepreneurship. And I would start with the generative AI, and I think AlphaFold, RosettaFold, and Evo from the Arc Institute at Stanford are just a start. That generative AI will fundamentally change the early steps of therapy development in biotech and biopharma. So why do I say therapy development? Because now it's not only drug development. What is hottest in biotech and biopharma is actually cell therapies, and that's one of the areas where people see a lot of opportunities for investment. So, for example, chimeric antigen therapies, also cell therapies for many other diseases, not just cancer. And what I have at the top right is actually David Baker, who led the RosettaFold development. And as you know, when AlphaFold was first published and put in public domain. We know that David Baker was working, he's a scientist, researcher, a professor at University of Washington in Seattle. And then it was amazing that in a short amount of time, we saw the publication of the generative model from Rosetta Fold. Both David and the scientist from AlphaFold received last year Nobel Prize. But the interesting thing is that while we think that Google had a lot of resources to develop AlphaFold, the resources of a university professor are not that high. But David showed that it is possible, and this was the key moment for many people in generative AI who are doing anything related to bioinformatics, computational biology, and drug development, drug design, to say, so it is doable. So to me, that is the spirit of an entrepreneur who can see an opportunity and recognize. Of course, his lab has been developing tools for designing new proteins for the past 20 plus years. So this is not something that was just done overnight, but the important thing is that they were able to design a new drug for pancreatic cancer, which along with glioblastoma multiforme, the brain cancer, is one of the most lethal types of cancer. Only 5% survival in 5 years. And at the Computer Vision Pattern Recognition Conference, he gave a thrilling presentation, and many people in computer vision who have no idea about biology or chemistry are now motivated to learn more and help in this endeavor. EVO from the ARC Institute is more recent, and it can generate and traverse this world in a much more broad way. It's really groundbreaking AI model developed so that can design so it's a biological foundation model. It's trained on extensive DNA sequences, enabling it to both interpret and generate sequences across DNA, RNA, and proteins. And its capabilities are such that you can design even whole new genomes. So in theory, cell therapies can be designed based on this model. There is a YouTube video that I encourage you to see, and also the whole code, both for AlphaFold, for Rosetta Fold, and EVO are on GitHub. So this is all available. On the left side, I have both Regeneron and Recursion. These are two companies. Regeneron is more than 30 years old, and their chief science officer was at the Biotech Future Forum in Belgrade last year. Actually, turns out his great-grandfather was president of Serbia 100 years ago, and he has a connection to Serbia. But what's interesting to me is that this is now a multi-billion dollar company with a very healthy pipeline of drugs, and Recursion is AI-driven drug discovery company. It started with computer vision being applied to screening of different molecules and their effect, and so on. So it's a very vibrant world out there in the drug development space. but also I think the diagnostic industry will be really transformed through computer vision and deep learning, as we will see next with Qmenta. I have to bring up one of my favorite people in the tech world, which is Steve Jobs, and coming back to the idea that whenever we solve a problem, we need to have the generic notion of what is it that we're doing. So he thought about computers as a tool, as a bicycle of the mind. One day he realized that while many animals actually are fast, the point is that a human being with a bicycle is much faster and can expend much less energy out there. So that's why he had this notion that developing personalized personal computers provide very important tool for productivity for entire industries. So I think of the bicycle of the mind. I think of AI as that new bicycle of the mind, building new models and tools for pharma, and to focus on a systems artificial intelligence and machine learning collaborative approach. When we talk about technology and AI, people forget that it is actually coupled with the workflow. And what I've learned at Philips and what we used to emphasize is how do we map out the workflow in, say, healthcare continuum. And then based on that mapping of the workflow, we can point to which problems to solve. In precision diagnosis, for example, in radiology, in image-guided biopsy, histopathology, molecular pathology, and so on, there are many problems that AI can solve, many problems that do require and can support successful startups. There are many, too many to enumerate right now. On histopathology, I will just mention Page AI, and you should look up their story. It's a very successful startup using AI to interpret histopathology images. And then when we go from diagnosis to determining how to improve patient outcomes, there is the step of therapy selection, of personalized therapy delivery. And again, in this space, there are hundreds of startups as well. And interestingly enough, many of them are well-funded, but of course, only a few of them may become unicorns and succeed. But one company that comes to mind is Tempus. I think they've been through many rounds of fundraising, and their valuation is between $6 and $8 billion. And if my memory serves me well, their funding, their most recent round of funding was several $100 million. But it just to tell you how much promise there is in this area. So workflow is one very important aspect to consider, but then another aspect to consider is the data, because AI cannot do anything without solid data. I still remember the times when face recognition was stuck at 87 to 89% accuracy for many, many years, until ImageNet was created, and deep learning then could show how powerful it can be. So this whole thing took off in 2007. So something very similar is happening and needs to happen now in the world of biomolecular data and bioinformatics. So clinical longitudinal patient response data, I think Macedonia should have such initiatives where all of the healthcare records are not only digitized but also available for biomedical data analysis and AI. And also I think it's an opportunity for creating a startup in this space. And then, of course, gene expression data, spatial transcriptomics, microscopy images, ligand receptor interaction databases, time series data. All of these are very important. And I think you should know that there are many databases out there that are just free to access and to leverage if you're developing and thinking about the startup. And of course, we need to think about privacy and data governance of that data before starting. So read those strings that are attached to the data resource that you're using. Now, in terms of impact and what it means, I just thought of showing you just one of the screenshots of the precision medicine suite that I built at Philips. So this was about turning genomic data into genomics reporting software for molecular pathologists, because a bioinformatician can sit a whole day and use different tools and take a whole genome sequence and create prioritize genomic variants and associate therapies that can work for that patient. But practicing molecular pathologist has only like 10 to 15 minutes to spend for this. So we automated that whole process, and we also added a multidisciplinary tumor board as well as clinical trial matching and clinical pathways based on Dana-Farber Cancer Institute in Boston, based on their clinical pathways. Of course, we collaborated with them. And now this is available and is being offered to many hospitals around the world. But what was in the heart was, for example, for clinical trial matching, we used the recurrent neural network model to extract information from clinical trials data, which was a public resource. And what I hear today is this is still an open problem for many patients because they live in different countries, and I'm sure there are resources that could be utilized for this. So there are many startups that can help both pharma companies recruit their patients and also cancer patients who are stage 4, stage 3 or 4, who are really fighting for a chance for a long life to reach and get the types of treatments that they need for longer survival. One company that I would like to mention in this space, so precision medicine, that's more in the realm of in the middle in that workflow that I showed you. So post-diagnosis, how do we create treatment plans for patients? But if we move on to earlier stages, like how do we design new treatments? Exscientia or Exscientia is another way that I've heard their name being pronounced, is an AI-driven biotech company. And it advanced into the first ever AI-designed drug into human clinical trials. The drug is for obsessive compulsive disorder, and this AI system used vast amounts of data to identify novel drug targets. Again, most of this data was actually public data. So you don't pay any money, but you do need to have deep profound knowledge and a lot of courage to actually take all of this data and convince people to get funding. Now, last year, Recursion Pharmaceuticals acquired Exscientia for approximately $688 million. So this is not 3 months, as Milan mentioned in the beginning, but it's very important and sustainable innovation that is really science-based. So this strategic move really combined Recursion's expertise in large-scale biological data analysis, and so that it could use Exscientia's AI-driven molecular design and automated chemistry synthesis, and creating this comprehensive end-to-end drug discovery system. Another company that I will just mention is Benevolent AI. So their approach in oncology focuses on using AI to understand the underlying mechanisms of cancer and to predict drug targets. So they they were first to achieve FDA approval for an AI-identified drug in 2022. After the regulator authorized a new use for Lilly's Olumiant, it's also called baricitinib for COVID-19. So this was also AI-driven. And then if you're in this space, you've heard about in silico medicine. So they introduced a potent TNIK inhibitor, and this is showing excellent activity in both enzymatic and cell-based assays. And then the preclinical results showed multiple cell-based and animal models prove that this molecule exhibits considerable antifibrotic and anti-inflammatory efficacy. So this is a drug for idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, and it's still on its way to FDA approval. I know I'm probably running out of time, but the main question that I want to address, if you were starting a bioinformatics company today in the Balkans, where would you begin? I would say first define white spaces in the industry, meaning in that workflow that I showed, there are many spots in that workflow that are still open white spaces, and you can create successful companies. Find a problem that is commercializable. So don't just find the startup based on a cool idea. The first criterion would be the problem domain and usefulness to many customers around the world. To align a strong ecosystem, Steve Jobs used to say, thinkers are doers. So find people who are not only great at research, but great in execution. Here, I also want to mention to look for private and public funding. The companies that I mentioned, both Recursion as well as Regeneron, Benevolent AI, and so on, they've used a lot of private funding, and some have public funding. Like this Euraxis initiative can be great, but every year we have Macedonia 2025 Summit. There are competitions for startups and getting funding. So don't think, oh, $10,000, what will that do? Or, oh, what is 5,000? It's nothing. Think of, this is where we come to the mindset and skill set. think of, first of all, how to help people, how to create a company that has broad impact for the health of people, and use the resources that are easily accessible and don't undermine any of the resources. Sometimes resources that you get for free are hard to notice, but they can help you the most. Just like in the companies that I mentioned, they've used a lot of public free data. And today it's not just the data. There are many foundation models like the EVO model, AlphaFold, RosettaFold. They're free, they're out there. You just go and you just download it and you try it. And if you don't understand something, ask, learn, adapt. Have that positive attitude, and along the way, of course, people will try to discourage, but you have to build up the resilience. And then in terms of hard skills and soft skills, I think coding and math are essential, whether you're a physicist or a computational chemist or computational biologist, or mechanical or electrical engineer, you can do it. You have already these basic skills. And very important is to have not only the hard skills, but also to have in mind the product development mindset. What is the problem that I'm solving? What is the workflow? And then on the soft skills, the most important to me is to find collaborators, and to collaborate, to listen to your customers. They're your collaborators as well. If you're solving a relevant problem, chances are your product and your company will be more successful. There are many hackathons out there. We are just starting a hackathon for ISO MPEG Genomics. It will start early June, and I will try to popularize across the world. So you have to excel and get a real idea about the usefulness of your work through any means imaginable. Go to conferences, trade shows, benchmarking continuously also helps in creating and coming to that success story. With this, I will close and hand it over to Dr. Vesna Prčkovska and the next presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Nevenka. It was a really inspiring journey, what you presented. It's amazing to see how scientific expertise, when paired with this bold thinking, can really contribute to shape global innovation. Thank you. So our next speaker is Dr. Vesna Prčkovska. Vesna is the co-founder and CEO of Qmenta. A multi-award winning researcher and entrepreneur, she holds a PhD in biomedical image analysis from Eindhoven University of Technology. She has conducted advanced neuroimaging research, including a fellowship at Harvard, focused on brain connectivity and neurodegenerative diseases using diffusion MRI and functional MRI. Vesna is a leader in developing AI-driven tools that improve brain data analysis, collaboration, and data management in research. Through Qmenta's cloud-based platform, she supports high data quality and compliance. A frequent speaker in international events, she advocates for the use of AI to advance neurological research. Vesna, whenever you want.
Thank you so much, Jana. And I'll try to be very much on point on maybe a different side of starting your own business or starting a startup, a very uncensored and raw story of my background and how I started. So let's see. And Jana, thank you for your nice thought-provoking questions. They were basically guiding me to make a couple of slides, which I really don't like making slides, but this was very useful. And I think like that, I can tell my story. So one of the questions, or the beginning questions, let me see how I can make this smaller, was What was the turning point when I realized that the research had entrepreneurial potential, and maybe combined one and two, what are the first practical steps to go from idea and startup? And this is more complicated than it sounds. It's not like one moment when the magic happens. If I pitch in front of the investors, I will say, I'm from Macedonia. I did electrical engineering, and then I went to Netherlands because I was always obsessed with the human brain, and I went on a program for image processing and visualization of the brain. And we were in this very smart group developing a tool that would eventually be used by neurosurgeons and neurologists. So while we were developing this tool, we also had to publish papers, and it was very frustrating that we spent almost 90% of our time organizing data and so on, building this tool, but not really building a good user interface. And at the end, just ending up with a bunch of papers in a drawer, God knows who would use these papers or read them, and a tool that was just difficult to use because you cannot publish by improving the UX. I cannot say that the idea came in Harvard, but I can say that I went to Harvard also, thinking that I'm at the top institutions, and you see me here in these weird pajamas. I'm about to be scanned by the human connectome scanner, which is the strongest scanner for diffusion types of images, of these beautiful images that we do of the brain. But it was similar. There was a lot of support, but still the same problems with data organization, with like copying data, renaming and everything, and spending my weekends into writing papers. And then I write that paper, and for what? I also took a big sabbatical, like 4 or 5 months of sabbatical after I finished I didn't do anything after I finished my PhD. I went to a trip to Brazil, which my father was so worried. How are you going to justify these 4 or 5 months of gap in your CV, Vesna? You'll never get hired anywhere. It was the best time and the best decision of my life. But I just want to let you know how everything happened, what is the story behind, the real story that I actually haven't shared. So it is true that these frustrations existed during my PhDs, during my postdocs, that there were big gaps and need in the market. But the idea doesn't happen like that. It's not like you're seeing all of these, gaps and you're frustrated and then you say you're going to create a company. In fact, and funny enough, it happened in Skopje. So the Brazil trip finished, and I was unemployed, basically penniless, because I spent all my money to have the trip of my life and see the sun that I miss so much in Netherlands. And I didn't know exactly what I want to do. I knew that I'm not that much into academia. It's something that is not for me, but it's something that I know. So probably that's where I can apply for jobs. But on the other hand, I mean, during the times, and back then, there were not that many accelerators, or, you couldn't go to the university and ask how to start a company. It was very, very difficult. We didn't have ChatGPT, so, you're trying to figure things out. So with my today's co-founder, Paolo, we already were set on starting some kind of a business while we're doing whatever we know how to do, continuing with some academic careers and see some traction. And the easy thing was that we saw very talented engineers in Macedonia and a lot of demand in Western Europe, where we were living in Netherlands and Spain and so Nordic countries. So we were like, okay, if we want to start a startup, let's start with something simple. So we learned the business part. And this was like not really a startup. It was a more traditional business that is now flourishing. we can see that a lot of companies like this. But this happened when a dear friend of mine, Ina, we were sitting in Skopje and about to start this business, and just mentioned that we have this other idea about, and it's not the original Qment idea, but it was back then about using the cloud technology, quick visualization of images on tablets, helping radiologists to triage images. Now, Qment has evolved much more than that, but that was something that was closer to what we both, me and my co-founder Paolo, loved, and that's the human brain and medical image processing. So what I'm trying to say here is that I was at a point in life where I felt totally lost. I finished my PhD, and this is from my acknowledgements, where I'm saying that I'm totally not proud of what I did. I ended up in a big trouble with the dean. So I was basically at the bottom, and somebody who was not from the academic world believed in us and pushed us and said, forget about this outsourcing. You guys should go with, you've acquired such a deep knowledge, go for it. And I think when you're thinking about the practical steps, maybe here ignorance is bliss. I didn't know how difficult it is to start a company. So she connected us with a couple of people, and overnight we developed a business plan. And almost like in a week, I was already pitching in front of a serial entrepreneur. And I didn't know anything. I mean, I could explain the product, but I didn't know how a real pitch deck should look. I didn't know anything about the go-to-market strategy, financial forecast, nothing. I was totally lost. But I learned something. I was out of my comfort zone. I went there. Maybe I made fool of myself, but I broke the ice and I did something that maybe in this environment, if we're thinking who is the niche or target audience for this webinar, if you're lost and if you're thinking that academia is the only way, it's not. Sometimes, you need to mingle, network with different people, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's better to just do it and learn from it than to perfect it. Now, also, it was very, very difficult. So this is 2011. And it took us 2 years from that first business plan to pitch to venture capitalists, where they thought that we were absolutely insane going to the cloud. We got some awards. Our first funding was 2,000 euros, from which we also had an office, and we had to use the money to pay the office. So it was basically nothing. But somebody noticed us, and we thought, okay, we're onto something. So it took years. I mean, we started the company in 2013, and we had a pre-seed round. We did our minimum viable product. We did the big seed round in 2016 and started getting big size deals. But one thing that is important is we made it through because giving was never an option. And if I have to take away a message from my experience, and that this is my personal experience, and just to be completely transparent, we never did nor wanted to go to the spin-off path, and there's pros and cons to it. My takeaway message would be fast is better than slow. And often as researchers, with that mindset, we are kind of primed to overthink it, but it's better to act and to be okay with good enough rather than perfection. And at the end, being shy and doubting yourself would be your biggest enemy in business world. So if you're asking me what are the practical steps, I would say network, get out of your circle, get to people that are very different from you. And if you think you're onto something, then quickly find the 3 Fs that I call in the business world, which is initial capital that comes from family, friends, and fools, your angel investors. So go for it. And then you will have time to work on the next steps. So if I have to walk you through a major challenge that I faced in the early stages, oh boy, there's so many challenges. And especially as a female entrepreneur, it's been very hard. So when we did also the seed round, I was pregnant and I was raising money, and the world is cruel. And, we have lots of programs for women in entrepreneurship and so what so not. But the reality is that nobody wants to invest in a founder that is pregnant or a very fresh mother. So I mean, this is a picture here on the left side where you see us past midnight doing financial projections, DC evaluation. And here in the corner, you can see, on the sofa, my 3-month-old baby sitting there. And that was a sacrifice, but I didn't let myself say that this will this is a problem and now I cannot do my job. I mean, there's ways, and maybe they're uncomfortable, but if you're determined enough, there's ways around everything. And she's very, very strong person. I'm very proud of her. She could pitch this better than me. By now, she's 9. Also for a startup that is fundraising and proving their, very novel technology in a world where COVID just started, that was another huge challenge. So you can see us overnight getting into completely remote way of working. We lost a lot of deals due to COVID, and I can speak more about it. I don't have a lot of time. But we managed to continue to run the company. We've raised funds and we managed to have fun. This is a picture of a Halloween party. And one of the hardest things was to get the first phase 2 client. And with that, we had to have a really well-designed go-to-market strategy. So build a product and work with top institutions to get traction, even if it's not in revenue, to collect feedback, refine the product, build all the compliance. B2B healthcare it's one of the hardest and slowest markets in sales cycles and adoption of new technology. It gave us time to build trusted partnerships with leading hospitals and institutions that you see on the right side. And, we were growing our traction in users, in data, and maybe we're not doing as much as revenue, but we were seeing that there's somebody out there that needs this product. And that's part of this product market fit. And sometimes it's better to go quickly for any kind of traction rather than working out the perfect pricing model. So my second takeaway message would be, don't take no for an answer ever. If I would have to pick one thing that makes somebody successful from what I've learned throughout this path and all the amazing people that I've met, is that resilience is everything. You can have the perfect product, you can have the perfect team, but if you're not resilient, and there will be always difficult moments, and there will be even more hard moments, life is like that, you have to be able to show up, and you have to be able to don't take no for an answer. It's really, success doesn't come easily. It's very easy to, give a very nice presentation of everything that you've done amazingly, but that comes with lots of nights where you doubt yourself, where you don't sleep, where, I don't know, maybe you want to quit and then you're changing your mind. It's just full of ups and downs, and make sure that you have the right people to support you. Now, when you were asking about the importance of interdisciplinary collaboration, it's not just important, it's a must. Where we are working, we are bringing together engineers, data scientists, MDs, clinicians. But also what is interesting is it's even harder when you need to connect profiles like sales and, let's say, back-end engineers, or you're building an organization like we are in Cumenta with lots of nationalities, with different languages. So we've done some painful steps early in the company that hopefully when we scale in a lot of geographical areas will not be as much of a problem. But it's something that is not always comfortable, and really to be able to deliver this kind of tools and service that solves real problems, we had to go through some honest and uncomfortable conversations. So what I would suggest here is really find a common language in a multidisciplinary organization. That would be very difficult and challenging, and that can happen in a way to develop knowledge and empathy for the roles in your organization. And I'm saying here the roles that I just mentioned, but I had an example where a sales executive and a designer could not agree. Everything was like delayed, and then I've asked the sales guy to just sit next to the designer, and they sat together, and it took them 6 or 7 hours. And then the sales executive said, "Oh my God, it's not like you open PowerPoint and you just put some pretty images. It's a lot of work." And I had no idea, and I've been really sorry, like an asshole to this guy, but I didn't understand what is how much work and effort they're putting. So really, it takes a lot on the leadership side, and always everything comes from the top, to have that empathy, to understand all these different profiles and to make them talk to each other and have the right incentives so everybody's on the same team. You don't have different teams within your organization. You never want to have that. So if I go back to my younger self and what are or to all the researchers here that want to start a company and how to pitch, I think there's a lot. This is a workshop on itself. But as a scientist, we love our jargon, we like our abbreviations. The idea is make it as simple as possible. Don't play smart here. You want to explain in a way that your grandmother can understand it and follow it. And then for me, it still takes a while, but you have to rewire your brain, because as a scientist and academic, you have a lot of this. It might, it maybe, in business, in front of your board, when you're pitching, you have to say, it will be, it's definitely. So all of that has to change. Be ready to pitch your idea anywhere and under any circumstances. It's never the perfect time. Money doesn't wait. It can be 30 seconds elevator pitch, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, slides, no slides. You can be working and coding and somebody, taps you and then you have to pitch it. But you have to catch every opportunity. So I would say that this is a must. And later I put that you should definitely find a mentor or accelerator. It really helps. It helped us. And we often as academics focus so much on the product. We are so passionate about it. It's not bad, it's good. And it will come the time to shine when you already get an investor on the interested and they do their due diligence and so on. But when you're doing the pitching, first of all, be a human and show something that relates to everybody in the room, a real problem. Second of all, you can show your solution, but spend most of your time on traction and revenue forecast, because the investors really care on how you will make money or how you will make money for them. So there's a lot here. It's not a simple formula, and we can talk on another workshop, but at the end, if you have your product market fit and if you're solving a real problem, then in this world of entrepreneurship, you will succeed and it's going to be fun. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy. And then the last question was, how do I balance scientific rigor with the fast-paced demands of startups' growth? And this is a very interesting question. And I'm struggling with it and many of my team members, because science really teaches us to be cautious, methodical. Startups, they demand urgency, risk-taking, shipping before the product is perfect. If you're too slow, the competition will eat you, and then have the best product, you're already relevant. So of course, there should be rigor, protect it where it matters the most. In our case, is data integrity, compliance, patient safety, but you can embrace iteration in areas like product features or internal processes. So it's not about being perfect, but this is very important. It's about being accountable. And I can just quickly close that Cumenta is very personal to me. Just a year and a half, my dad died from stroke, and I have very close friends that have friends or they're with neurological disorders. A third of the population, a third of all of us here at some point in life will be affected by a brain disease. So it's a big problem. And the vision of Cumenta is a future where brain diseases are a thing of the past. And that can be done if the diagnosis is data-driven and it's not guesswork, which is now. And just to finish, what is success? Yeah, we are growing, the company is growing, we're having more and more clients. I'm very happy about it. But also I find success meeting your heroes. And for me, just if you look at the advisory board, I mean, I've met Walter Gilbert. He's a Nobel laureate in genome sequencing, and he founded Biogen and many other pharma companies. Bruce Rosen, he's the director of the Harvard's Imaging Center, Martinos, and much more. But also recently, John Kelly, who is the father of IBM Watson, or the father of artificial intelligence. I mean, it's something that I always dreamt of, like that moment to meet him and learn from him. And he's all of them are exceptional human beings, and they are all on the same mission to help us be more successful. And when you are working with amazing team and you have this kind of visionary people next to you, I'm going to say again, every day is a struggle and it's really, really hard. But this makes up for everything. And at the end, when you see your clients that are very satisfied and they're actually doing referrals and they're your best sales and marketing people, then you know you're on the track to success and this is worth it. So I just want to finish here and just to say for everybody that are listening here, if you're drifting, if you're uncertain, dreaming, it's a good sign. We've all been there. Many of you are opening about how hard it is. It's very hard. But these kind of events and by networking more and opening up and talking about the real problems, we can find the solutions, and like that, we will change the world. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Vesna, for your presentation. This was a very clear and powerful example of what happens when one person take the research beyond the paper, right? Beyond academia. And your path proves that entrepreneurship really starts with curiosity and courage, among other things. But I think courage is something.
Courage is get out of the comfort zone. That is a recipe to stay and overthink. And you know.
Thank you very much.
Don't always listen, you know. So something that I've realized, it's small thing, but listen to advices to people that you want to become. Not always, like in my case, my parents never thought, or my father didn't think that entrepreneurship is for me, but academia should be for me. But I was stubborn and I still went in the direction where I feel alive. And I tried the other path. So I think everybody should really see where their values and how much risk averse they are and how much of a doers and going fast, how much that energizes them.
Exactly. Taking risks. Thank you. Our final speaker is Professor Radmil Polanakovic from St. Cyril and Methodist University in Skopje, a key figure in Macedonian startup ecosystem. So Radmil is a full-time professor at the Faculty of Mechanical Engineering, whose teaching portfolio includes courses such as entrepreneurship and small business management, innovation management, and project management. As the head of the Department for Production and Industrial Engineering and manager of the Faculty Career Center, he collaborates closely with various companies. Radmil has authored over 330 publications and has been instrumental in developing Macedonia's innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystem. He has played a key role in formulating national strategies for entrepreneurial learning and cluster development, and had led numerous projects supported by international and national organizations. Additionally, he is the founder of the University Business Startup Center and the National Center for Development of Innovation and Entrepreneurial Learning, which have supported the creation of over 60 startups. So, Radmil, please, whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you, Jana, thank you, colleagues. So since we are running out of time, I should now say hello, thank you, and goodbye. But I will try to be as short as possible. We heard two excellent examples from the Vinka and Vesna, but that's international examples for Macedonians. So let's see what we can do in Macedonia. You are seeing my slides, yes? Just to confirm. Sorry for this noise. I'm on the workshop in Greece in one hotel, so this is the most best place. So just to short this part, I've never worked in the area of medicine, pharma, etc., or IT. So I was always mechanical engineer, but teaching entrepreneurship and working in the area of strengthening national innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystem in Macedonia. So some of the achievements are here, but the idea is through my journey with my colleagues to show you what we've done in the startup ecosystem with our company. So we have established this company in 2023 with the colleagues from Faculty of Pharmacy, Maria Glavash-Dodov and Maya Simonovska-Tsarevska, and with my two former assistants, Traice Velkovsky and Bojan Jovanovski. Bojan now is professor at University of Graz. However, the story is interesting because we managed to use many different funding schemes that support us, and at the end, to tell you where we now. So we started in 2017 with the idea when we developed with Bojan and Traice that a national cluster strategy for Macedonia. The owner of the snail cluster approached us and told us, let's try to do something together, help us to sell more snails internationally. So we started with one feasibility study funded by Austrian Development Agency. And then we see how we can do some snail gastronomy in our country to try to sell the snails in jars with some herbs. Then we decided to apply for the USAID project in order to increase the snail farms. That was successful. And then in 2018-19, we applied for one project for the Fund for Innovation and Technology Development in our country, and won that project. And at the end, we made the national patent in 2022, where we managed to extract the powder from the snail mucus. So the whole process was patented. So in the meantime, there's many different schemes that we used. One that I would like to strongly recommend for our Macedonian researchers and young colleagues is the Aid Jumpstarter. And me, as a professor of entrepreneurship, on my 55 years, I spent with younger colleagues several months, but this was excellent experience for me, both as a professor, but also I picked some topics for my teaching of entrepreneurship. So in the meantime, we have two Macedonian Austrian projects, one UNCIM project, and we were mentored by one international effort proof of concept projects. So at that point, we decided it's time to establish our startup company. So again, with the support of our National Fund for Innovation, we established that company where we tested our solution that was in last year awarded with the EPO patent. EPO is European Patent Office organization. So until now, nothing bioinformatics. So this is the story, what we have done, and this is what is about our patent. So as I said, we established first this system of extracting the snail mucus and preparing in the powder, but with different herbs. At the end, we defined it with our colleagues from the pharmacy, this type of solution that was patented last year, and it was awarded by the patent. So we were very proud of this. Why? Because you can see that our country have only 7 European patents in the last 10 years, and 2 were from Alcagoit, one Waptec, 2 other innovators, and we as a team. So we expect that with this patent now we can go much further, and the idea is that until now we confirm that our solution can treat the wounds much faster. So our focus at the beginning was diabetic ulcer wounds, but now in the next steps we are planning, and now it's very soon, to partner with one IT company in order to develop smart healing patches where we can control the dosage, what is going to the wound, and measure some, let's say, medical parameters that are important for faster healing. So, as you can see, as a mechanical engineer, almost nothing was in my area and my assistant's area, but the key is to find the right partners to equip yourself with good know-how from different areas and to believe in yourself. In general, I'm speaking this to my younger colleagues. If you like to work for others, it's okay. But always is the best to work for yourself, because then you have not bosses under you that require some time to be approved, some documents, etc. For now, for Macedonia, for young researchers, now there is an excellent time to try to develop your research in the startup. Why? Because really there is a many different opportunity. For example, we are now planning for our startup to apply to European Innovation Council with the 2-3 other partners. It's up to 3 million euro project. So that is one of the options. European Institute for Technology is also another option. Horizon is also. So there are many different options for the younger colleagues to do. So now is the right time, and now is your time to do your startups. So if you have some meaningful research, don't waste the time. So this is my advice to you after 60, I'm almost 60, and do more than 100 different projects. So invest in yourself, invest in your startup. So I think I was very quick. I will stop here in order to open the floor for the questions, and I will continue later with some information about the startup competition in bioinformatics that we are planning to organize during the next month. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Radmil. It's great to see how much is already happening in Macedonia on the ground of researchers and supporting them, and startups, of course, and to see how much potential we have to grow. So as Radmil already said, we will open the floor to questions from the audience. I don't see anything in the chat, but if you want to ask something, you can just write it in chat, or yeah, I think that it will be the easiest option. Okay, yeah, so we have a question here from Victor Domazitoski. He is a colleague of ours, so nice to see him here. He says, thank you for the inspiring talks. In my opinion, while the technological age has provided us from Macedonia to knowledge and opportunities as a global stage, I believe one problem that young people are faced with is the lack of connections in the space, for instance, compared to people who are in the US. The question is, what strategies would you recommend for networking, especially when you don't have direct contact with the people you're interested in collaborating with?
I can say something. I mean, it's what I've done. I came from Macedonia. I had no direct contacts. I had nothing. Like, I started with literally nothing. If anything, we're good at research. So do your research and make it a stage process, and you would very quickly see who is connected to who and what's your in terms of network, like what's your shortest path to get to an introduction. Meanwhile, build those relationships with whoever can give you the introduction, and it's always in a way that how you can help, or if you want something from somebody that is busy, try to put yourself in their shoes. And if you need any kind of introduction, or I don't know, any kind of favor, just prepare for it and don't be shy. I mean, if I need an introduction, and maybe if I don't know the person, I'll introduce myself, I'll talk about ways that we can help each other, and I'll ask for a favor, but it will be already pre-drafted and everything, so they can, they don't need to spend a lot of time. And it really comes to a lot of proactivities, and also in this group, how we can leverage our networks and how we can make something more accessible so it's easier to start with, because the beginning is the most difficult, I would say.
I agree with Vesna, and I'm watching this series called Genius. It's about Einstein, and it hits me that he was, most of the time in the beginning, it was almost like he was daydreaming, and many people thought he was cuckoo for doing theoretical physics, which was like hocus pocus. Only experimental physics was back then recognized. And he did reach out to people. He actually had a lot of collaborators who helped him with the math, including Mileva, including very, very important mathematicians like Hilbert and so on. Back then, they didn't have social network. But today you have LinkedIn, you have emails, and I'm sure you can find an email of a person that you want to reach. I'm really amazed at the board, at the advisory board, Vesna, that you have assembled. And I'm sure it's because when you approach these people, if you have a good question and a good idea, and you know what you want from them, I've written cold emails to many different people around the world. And when I started the bioinformatics activity at Philips, I sent a cold email to 3 people who were leading computational biology at Cold Spring Harbor. Now, Cold Spring Harbor was back then #1 in molecular biology and genetics. Philips was a healthcare company, 0 in molecular biology and genetics. But they responded. They said, we're willing to collaborate. Come and meet us. And now with Zoom, you can meet anybody around the world. So don't be shy. Like Vesna said, just get over yourself. And it's okay. Just be careful not to inundate people so much that they try to avoid you. Just go in small steps and think of what are possible answers that they can give you and how to continue that communication and where you want to get with that connection. But nowadays there are so many conferences also that are online, and I think the Macedonian Academy of Sciences and Arts can help in providing maybe not always stipends for travel, but for many conferences you can have online access. And even those are a few $100s. And maybe that's expensive for Macedonia. But if you write to a conference, they'll say, okay, we'll give you free licenses, free seats. You can always do this. And when I was a student, and also when I was in between jobs in the last few years, I asked conferences and I said, look, I cannot pay. Right now, I'm in between jobs. And they said, we'll give you a free seat. You can just be online and listen to the conference, and it's okay. Just don't be shy. That's my thing. And on LinkedIn, people can ignore you sometimes, but through LinkedIn, you can find a friend of a friend and connect with the right people and write that short message. Whether it's like your personal 10-second pitch or 30-second pitch. You always have to present yourself in a best possible way, so that people want to connect with you. Sometimes I meet very young people, but the ones that leave an impression on me are the ones that seem to be very smart and very collaborative. Because smartness and access to information and hardworking, yes, there are many people like that, but you're looking for people that can really connect and are ready to give back. I was watching a movie the other day, and it said, "Would you date yourself? Like, look at yourself. Would you date yourself?" It's like, be or try to be like someone who you want to see in other people. So that's not very hard, turns out. So anyway, I know Vesna and I agree on many things.
Actually,
But
what is really
yeah.
funny is when I show the advisory board, so how I met Dr. Kelly, the father of IBM Watson. I actually made a super amateur video. I got this big award, but I didn't feel like I can make it. It seemed too cheesy to make a video of myself with this award that looked like an Oscar. So when I turned, I think 40, I just made like a short video of 10 things that I've accomplished in life in the last 10 years or something like that. And I included that as one. It's a very bad, like the sound is not good, but I just open up, and it was not all about work. It was also about private life. And then a J&J executive noticed it, and he asked me for a virtual cocktail, to which I said, of course. And since then, we're very close friends. When I travel to New York, we always meet. Um, well, let's see, maybe there will be more announcements, but he introduced me to John Kelly and to few other very influential people that would be good for Humenta, you know. And it can happen like that. I mean, the investment is like bare minimum, and I could have overthink and tried to make this video great and what, but I just did it and did not care. And I often feel like
Awesome.
those kind of moments, something magical happens.
Awesome. By the way, Vesna, John Kelly was a mentor to my husband at IBM, and he's also my personal hero. Amazing person.
But we should talk
So
more.
yeah, we should talk more on that.
Brilliant. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Thank you for your answers. We are waiting for some more questions. I have one question. I heard you speaking about barriers and challenges. All of you have touched that point. Visma probably focused more on that part, especially because of this personal experience. But I would like to ask you, what would you think is the biggest barrier to entrepreneurship? Like, if you have to choose one right now, what would it be?
But it depends for who. Because I think if you're a researcher and you want, are we focusing on that?
Exactly. If let's say if we are speaking about young researchers wanting to start in this world of startups.
As being one, and as being approached by a lot of young people in this, how do you say, from this niche, let's say, I think that they're lost about the opportunities. I think that the academic mind, just like imagine you've been 4 or 5 years and you've developed this rigor, and when you're writing a publication, it's like you're doing a literature review, and then maybe you have a finding, but you're not gonna say this will change the world, but you will say this might have a potential indication for this, that it's a lot about like self-doubt, whether I can do it. Some now maybe it's changing, but since I started the company, when I was going to conferences like ISMRM and I would see my colleagues that stayed in academia, I would be like, I would almost feel uncomfortable because they said, you went to the dark side, you just want to make money. So there's that aspect also, like you're going in industry and now you're evil and you want to make money. And I was saying, well, I'm trying to bridge also lots of your results will stay there as a paper, and then maybe some big corporation in 10 years will take them, implement it. I mean, I'm trying to shorten the cycle. And there's a lot of examples now that I'm super proud of Qmenta. We changed the diagnostic criteria for MS through imaging, and that's a huge impact for such a devastating disease. And I couldn't have done that in academia. But going back to the original question is just the mindset that academia puts on you and how you think that which are the only opportunities. You know, maybe your opportunities are you see somebody in a startup, you go there, you just go to some events, and you might end up in a cycle of several years where you're just trying to see how this space navigate. And if you're set on it, first you need to know if you're risk averse or you like risk taking. And you, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you shouldn't be risk averse. That risk taking should be a lot of that driving force. And then just try to be a very good salesman at whatever you need. I mean, in academia, we always think, salesmen, you don't need them, or like this or that. That's a skill that you learn. I mean, to be also resilient, not to get down when you're like rejected 100 times. So that's super important. And find a mentor, find somebody who's done it. And I think shyness and overthinking are probably something that are happening a lot. To just do it, you know. Maybe there's a lot of planning and everything, but to just do it, it really takes, I don't know, it's a big problem.
I would add, Vesna, that problem solving skills, but not just technical problem solving skills. I've seen entrepreneurs who are successful, they problem solve everything. You have to problem solve how to get money. You need to problem solve how to get to the next stage. How do you, even the people who trust you, who are with you, how do you get all the noses to point in the same direction? Just like what you described between the salesperson and the designer. Until you there are bigger problems to solve, but every day there are smaller problems to solve. And I think having that kind of a mindset is really crucial, because you need to get through many rounds of financing. Sometimes, just like Tempest that I mentioned, they've been to many rounds of financing. And all of these successful companies in the biomedical area, I remember talking to the chief science officer of Regeneron, and I said, so how did you guys endure all those years? Because for something like 15 to 20 years, they were not making a lot of money. They were small biotech. Now they're $80+ billion, and I'm sure they're going to go over 100 billion, and I'm sure they're going to go one day even be $1 trillion company. They're science-minded, science-based. They're started by two doctors. But one of them was always the money guy, and the other one was the science guy. They were aligned. So try that problem solving and try to find your soulmate. I also remember having lunch with Jim Watson, you know, the person like Watson and Crick got the Nobel Prize for the DNA structure.
Yeah.
And the way Watson always talked about Francis Crick, he would say things like, he was my soulmate. He was not solving problems alone. They were modeling, they were building 3D models. And many people in Cambridge were laughing at them. They were like, those, you know, clowns, they're not doing real science. But in my mind, they were first computational biology people. They just had the toy models that they were building how DNA structure might look like. And when Linus Pauling published the potential model for DNA of a triple helix, Francis came to Jim Watson and said, "Oh, we are doomed. We should stop doing everything because, see, there is a Nobel Prize winner who said it's a triple helix." And Jim Watson said, "You know what? Organisms duplicate. They don't triplicate." So Linus Pauling is wrong. So don't bow to authority just because they're authority. He continued with the problem solving. As a scientist, like, wear your brain, as my mom used to say. It's like, be always realistic, but sometimes you need to break those boundaries of reality. You have to believe in something so much that all of these small problem-solving problems every day, they can be very doable. You cannot just give up just because you don't have money this month. You have to say, I'm looking for money. I'm looking for investors. Maybe your bank account is zero, but you cannot say, I don't have money. You always have to say, I'm looking for money. I'm looking for funding. There is an EU grant. There is a way to overcome the little obstacles. I also call it suspension of disbelief. So you have to suspend when other people or the environment is telling you to stop believing in what you think is your goal, or how to get to a successful state. And in my mind, those are the moments. I remember one time when, just 1 year before we launched the business in Philips on genome informatics and oncology informatics, the business development person, who actually became my soulmate because I was the scientist and he was the money guy, and said, "Nevenka, they told me that they will kill your project, and this is a disaster," and so on. I said, "Don't worry, every year they're killing my project. My project is the one non-imaging project among the 30 imaging projects, okay? And for many years they were threatening that they're going to kill my project, but they're still funding it." So there is something there that they like, and that is novel enough that will take the company in a different direction. And it did, but it took many, many years. So I think that's why those little steps in the problem solving are important in the same vein. So I could have easily said to my colleague, yeah, they'll kill the project, so let's go home, let's just quit and let's look for another job. But we didn't. And even to this day, many people ask me, like, how did you do that? How did you convince the company to give you money to start up a new business? It wasn't easy, and it took a whole year of business development to walk the business case. With every single meeting, we had a stronger business case. And I remember the CEO of Philips Healthcare asked me, "So what's our right to play?" And I was thinking to myself, what a stupid question. Of course, you're talking to a CEO of Philips Healthcare, you work for Philips, you cannot say that. And I had to come up with 10 reasons right there on the spot, because the implication of that question is we don't have a right to play in that space because we are an imaging company. But when I said, but we have a $3 billion business in informatics, and this is informatics, that's something that she could believe in. So so that's one of the things that I said. You can always go back what you don't have, the resources that you don't have, but look at the resources that you have or easily can get, like the LinkedIn connections, or creating a little imperfect video of yourself. And maybe you think I'm a clown for doing this, but believe me, honesty and some of these reaching out can go a long way.
Thank you, Miranka and Visna. My next question was going to be around the mindset, but you've already responded it, so I'll just wrap it up. What I understood from all these presentations was that, especially for people in academia, right? Like, go out of this mindset, open up. It takes courage, but it will have results. So take risks and get out of your comfort zone, of course, and be persistent, right? So yeah, I would like to thank you for all these amazing thoughts that you've shared with us. So generously, your stories, your experiences. Today's webinar was about the science and the entrepreneurship life or opportunities. But as we see, they're not separate paths. They're more, they can be joined into one whole mission. So just as a final point, I will like to use this opportunity to present, to promote our next activity as part of this project, together with the Euro-Access Hub, a startup hub. So it's about a pitch contest. I think that Professor Polanakovic will can present it briefly, so you can have a better image about it. Just to mention, it's about young researchers from Macedonia, like researchers from Macedonia, or who may be part of undergraduate or master or PhD degree. But Professor Radno will say all the details about it.
Okay, thank you. I will have only a couple of minutes. So the idea is to support young researchers in our country and to think of transferring the research into a startup. So what we have here, we decided to, together with Macedonian Academy of Science and Arts, to invite all students, master and doctoral students, also undergraduate students that have some good ideas or already have some research or idea or concept, in teams up to 5 persons, to apply to our competitions. So all areas that have some connection to bioinformatics are welcome to apply. So biology, chemistry, veterinary, medical, pharma, IT, etc., etc. So the deadline is 1 month from now. You will have now also the link of the document in the chat, and the finale will be on 18th of June in Macedonian Academy, and from the project there is a small awards for the first, second, and third place. So if you have any questions regarding the competition, you can reach me on my contacts. You will have this presentation. I think Jana will send to all of you, so you have any if you have any questions, you can contact me directly, me or my colleagues from the National Center for Development of Innovation. And I will share now the link.
I've already shared it in the chat.
Yes, just a second.
I've already shared it. It's in there.
You already shared it.
Yeah.
Okay. Super. So that's it from my side. So we are open for any questions from young researchers, and we are planning to promote this competition to all universities in our country. So let's see if we have some beautiful ideas from our young colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Admel. The link is in chat. However, we will promote this event on LinkedIn and through all the universities in Macedonia. So I hope that the information will get easily to people interested in participating. And of course, if you can find information, you can reach us. So I would like to thank again to our amazing speakers. Really appreciated your time and effort to be here. I know that you all have very busy schedules, and really glad and thankful you could be here. We've learned a lot from your experiences, personal and professional, and it is very nice to hear the successful stories and see the hope in this link between academia and entrepreneurship. I will just wrap up. We invite you all to stay tuned for news on our LinkedIn pages and to explore the Euraccess resources, of course, the following upcoming events, including this pitch competition that we were speaking about, and hope to see you again in some other activity like this. Thank you for joining us today, and keep building, exploring, and believing in the power of your ideas. Thank you all again.
Thank you for inviting us. And I would like to say, I hope that within a year, we're going to be able to organize a full conference so that we can properly address some of these questions and even create some startup ideas and nurture them together with Radmil and many other people in the Finki and other parts of UKIM and other universities. I think there are just so many smart people in Macedonia that do deserve the opportunity to create opportunities, right? And nothing falls from the sky, as we say, ništo ne pada od nebo. So we have to put some effort and create that. And we do have billionaire friends who, if they're pitched with the right idea, they might be able to find connections and to help us further for the young entrepreneurs. The important thing is to instill that kind of mindset. And I think it's completely doable. Thank you again for inviting us.
Thank you.
Thank you.